Are we live?
We live or what?
I think we're live. Look at this.
No
Just
way.
like every show. Technical difficulties hold everything up. And they weren't even our fault. Again this time.
That's true. No one will ever believe us, but it's true. But Mike, what's most important is that we are here. For the first time since the pandemic has ended, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, please let me welcome you to this show with my esteemed, beautiful, tremendous, spectacular, absolutely stunning, angelic, and probably the most knowledgeable man I know when it comes to professional wrestling, Mike Sempervive, along with his co-host, me, your New Japan Strong openweight champion, Filthy Tom Lawlor. We welcome you to the newest edition of Semper Filthy.
Beautiful, angelic, knowledgeable, all words that are always used to describe me. Yes, we're back doing this show. You know it's special because I got my fat guy party shirt on now. It's 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is, East Coast time. In about 4 hours, I'll be asleep on a beach somewhere in Virginia. I don't know. I'll tweet out my details later on about that. But if you do see me on the beach, don't approach me. Okay, I'm going to be very tired and I'm going to be very annoyed. But we don't have time for that right now. We've got to get into all of these wonderful things that are at our fingertips here. UFC 265. We have Gable, Dan Stevenson, and Americans winning medals all over the place. And we have to thank Filthy Tom Lawlor for the house. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if it's officially sold out yet, but it is close enough. New Japan Resurgence in L.A. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, damn near sold out, all because of our openweight champion, our champion, Filthy Tom Lawlor.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And before I forget, before we get to UFC 265, can you please do me a favor and say it for me? Candyman.
Candyman. But
thank you.
Is it saying it 3 times or is it just once where he'll appear?
I don't know. I have to go ask Bruce Buffer, who tied it in much better than I did to the main event of tonight's UFC 265. But
can you imagine
go
if
back
you said it?
second,
Can you imagine if you said it 3 times and Brad Armstrong came back from the dead as Candyman?
That would be something else. As long as he hits that 911 DDT, I'm there for it. Let me tell you. I was a big fan of Arachna Man as a child as well, in case anybody was wondering.
Now, Bad Street.
Oh, huge fan of Bad Street. I didn't know it was Brad Armstrong back then.
Yeah.
Anybody with a mask, to me, that was cool. So, to throw it back to what you were talking about, the New Japan Resurgence show coming up next Saturday, the 14th of August, just announced right now. I probably have to go check my Twitter, see who's actually in the match, because quite frankly, I know me and my boys in Team Filthy Reloaded are going to take them out. Of course, I'm talking about myself with my long-time cohorts on New Japan Strong, the right-hand man, the most feared JR Kratos, along with the radioactive Pappy Danny Limelight, and the 2 newest additions. I am proud to announce that the West Coast Wrecking Crew has joined the ranks of Team Filthy, and Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs are on board as we, in the vein of the last 200, the last 52 episodes, the last 200 matches on New Japan Strong, as we, in the vein of that, continue to dominate New Japan as we take on Lio Rush, Brody King, the Dirty Daddy, Chris Dickinson, Fred Yeah, and Yuya Uemura, the beef boy himself.
You had to beat up a young boy. Look at that.
At New Japan Resurgence. I've already done that multiple times. Wait till this guy gets a little bit more training. Wait till he gets some training from Shibata, and then I'll really lay it into him.
Think he can handle Shibata?
I don't care what he can handle. Probably not. I know what I can handle. And that's any of these fools, so I'm not worried about it.
They better thank you for the house for that, our champion. What music are you going to come out to?
Well, I have my own, not to give too much information, inside information to the fans out there. I have my own theme on New Japan Strong there, which is, I think it was made by old Rocky Romero originally. I think it's a Rocky Romero original. And then with some added lyrics by some dude from Transylvania. Before one of the shows, he goes, I swear to God, before one of the shows, like early on, the show has, or the song has no lyrics. And then, I don't know, maybe at the turn of the year, it showed up with lyrics. And Rocky goes, hey, man. Right before I walk out, he goes, hey, I got some guy from Transylvania to do the lyrics for your song. And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? So you walk out, and then it starts like da 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 da.
Hot bars from Eddie, the Eddie Vedder of Transylvania.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a guy from Transylvania, so.
Yeah, hopefully you'll have better music when you come out at the Black Label Pro Show, which has been named after you. The Ground Control to Filthy Tom Show.
Yes, Ground Control to Filthy Time, which I will be taking on Daniel Garcia at the night before. It's a BLP. And
oh, man, the new, now red hot Daniel Garcia after GCW and AEW appearances. Crushes dreams.
Yeah, he's not going to be red hot after I get my hands on him. He might be red hot with a beating, with some, his skin might be red hot from getting slapped and stretched around. This kid ain't going back home to Buffalo with a non-sore bone in his body, let me tell you that. Because the night before, I'm going to be fired up anyways, because I got to take on old Alex Shelley at BLP and GCW 3 Cup stuff. So, yeah, a lot of action coming up for me there.
My God. Can you take Derek Lewis with you? He's going to need something to do here as he recovers after the beating that he took tonight. But we could, I guess, get into that. Although, what do you want to talk about, Tom? What do you think the people want to hear? Because there's an Akinelli story that you've teased.
Oh, that wasn't an Akinelli story.
Oh.
Have you ever heard of Necro?
The one you told me about Necro, yes.
Oh, okay.
I've been scarred from Necro.
Yeah, I figured I had. I figured I had told this story on air. Had I not?
No, I don't think you have.
Oh, so you're just a Necro fan?
I said, well, you sent me some stuff from Necro, and that's. I don't know if I would say that I'm a fan. I was amused, but I don't know if I would consider myself a fan in the same way I am of Griselda artists and such.
Are you a fan of Jedi Mind Tricks?
Jedi Mind, Jesus. I know I've heard of them, but I can't think anything by them.
Oh, really? Ill Bill? No. So, yeah, somebody in the chat shouting out Ill Bill. They know what's up. So, yeah, Necro is a horrorcore rapper. As you know, I sent you a song. I believe what the song I sent you was, what was it, On Your Knees? Baby, baby, I get down on my knees for you. Mm-hmm. Icky. Right, that's
I just remember it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so did I not tell you that at some point during my high school career, my 4 years, this is back when like burnt CDs and stuff were popular. I thought, this guy, man, this speaks to me. This is the kind of music that I enjoy. Necro talking about get on your knees and rap it about, porn stars from the 70s and 80s. His other hit was I Need Drugs. Right? I need drugs. Da, da. Like,
so it's like LL Cool J's I Need Love. It's just
exactly,
I need drugs.
But I need drugs. Yeah. So I thought, you know what? You know who would like to listen to this? Probably the other kids at my high school. So I somehow worked out a deal with Necro. I'm sure this is a popular thing for kids in high school to do, where I would distribute his CDs for a portion of the proceeds. Well,
wait a second. How did you come into contact with Necro? How'd you make this connection?
Dude, this was the days of AOL. Are you kidding me? Like, it was like there was a couple of things that could have happened
through
here.
The mail.
Is that how it used to go? Because there was a couple of things that I was expecting to happen. One I would get an email back from Necro, which is what ended up happening. The other was somebody would send me a video of them having sex with a pet, and the other one was, well, it was the same as number 2 actually. But what ended up happening was Necro himself emailed me back in some way or messaged me back, and I ended up with like $500 worth of Necro CDs, which I regretfully inform you, Mike, no one at Estero High School was willing to purchase, and I, for a while, didn't pay Necro the money that I owed him. I think it was like a couple $100. And I got a call one day from Necro, and essentially he threatened to slit my throat for the hundreds of dollars that I owed him, and my mother promptly sent him the money, and I remain a fan of his to this day.
I don't know where to go with that. Did you sell? So you didn't sell any of these at all? Nothing. Not out of the trunk of the car. Not out of the backpack. Nowhere.
Hold on. Can we go back to the point where I talked about what his songs were? Well, I Need Drugs, Get Down on My Knees, the song about 80s and 70s porn stars. Mike, they're talking about Ebony A's.
Hey, I know her. Yes, I am old
they're
enough to get
talking
that
about,
reference.
They're talking about people from that era, right? Like, how many kids do you think in 2000, 2001 in Bonita Springs, Florida, are willing to buy this rap CD from a guy called Necro?
Actually, I don't know. I would have figured Florida, if you're going to sell it anywhere, might be the best possible place to do that. Probably next to a methadone clinic.
Well, that's a valid point now that you bring it up. But when I was like 16 years old, I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking, I might as well pay this guy the $300.
What did your mom say about this? Was she actually like legitimately concerned for your safety, or was it just like,
dude,
all right,
this was
you
par
fucked
for the
up, let me
course.
just sign this, and okay, so she was used to this shit.
I was doing backyard wrestling that was like getting covered by the local newspaper somehow. Like, this was not an abnormal thing. Like, oh, wait a minute, he's doing some weird shit like that. Yeah, sounds about right.
Was she good with it? Because, like, did you bring in any money, or did you just cost her money your entire childhood? Did you actually, like, have one of these things and, like, make a hit with it somehow? Well, I guess we know the answer to that now, don't we? Poor Ma.
Yeah. Love her.
Well, what if your kids do this later on in life? How are you going to respond?
Apparently, my parents don't have many hobbies that require a lot of money, because I got away with some dumb shit that I probably shouldn't have. Let me tell you that much. So
well,
yeah,
look how you turned out.
Necro.
Look how you turned out. Everything is fine.
Yeah, it's great. I'm unemployed almost.
Well, you're not unemployed.
Well, I'm an indie. I'm a professional wrestler, which is like 2 steps below, I think.
Yeah, but the indie scene is hot right now. I mean, look at everybody else that just got fired from their jobs who will be floating out there.
Oh, man. Wow. Got to go there, huh?
Well, Is there anybody in particular that of
Deep
those releases that you'd love
cuts.
to choke out?
Well, I mean, Bronson Reed is probably the best of the workers, I would think. I'd have to go back and look at the list, but
did you already beat up Russ Tyler?
Oh, listen. Russ Tyler, my boy, right? He I don't know if he should do the Costanza gimmick. As who was it on your Twitter mentioned this?
I think it was Cubs fan who put that one up there.
Mentioned that Russ Tyler should come back and just pretend like he never left, which in a lot of ways he may be able to get away with and just assimilate back into Team Filthy. But, I think he should go the step further. I think he should go all the way and come back in a full-on bodysuit as Bodysuit Man if he's going to steal something from Costanza.
Well, is that too close to AKI Man? Actually, it doesn't matter. You can do both. He can be New Japan Strongman. Although I guess would that actually upset Strongman?
Have you seen the?
Where is Strongman?
He's selling workout programs on WhatsApp to indie wrestlers out there. Definitely not gonna name Josh Bishop as one of his clients, but he is. So
I was gonna say I wasn't sure if you were lying or telling the truth. Either way, I can actually picture it in my mind, and it's great.
Nope, it's 100% true. So that's what's going on with that guy. Yeah, I had something else I was going to talk about before you threw in the strongman reference, but
sorry to throw you off track.
Yeah, that one's going to throw me off for a long time.
Boy, this is a perfect. By the way, UFC 265 post show is what this actually is. A half hour in. Look at us. Greg the Hammer Valentine isn't here, but look at us taking the half hour we need to warm up in the same way that the Hammer would.
Yeah, Akinelli, he's not here either.
But you're still welcome to put it in your mouth if you want.
We're trying to get it out of our mouth here on this show. So, should we go on? Should we move on to UFC 256?
Possibly, maybe.
All right.
We'd have to turn back time for that one. I think this one was UFC 265, also dubbed as the subtitle of Fake Heavyweight Championship Belt and No Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of the show was at the very end where they're doing the interview. Daniel Cormier is doing the interview with our new interim heavyweight champion, Ciryl Gane. And he goes, there's the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, Francis Ngannou, out there. What?
Exactly.
This is the interim world heavyweight championship. Isn't the whole point of this that it's disputing the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world? What?
Everything about this was dumb as shit to me, especially in hindsight. Okay? Let me get this out of the way. Ciryl Gane is really good, and he was a bad matchup for Lewis in his hometown. And I know they wanted to have a title fight there. I know they wanted to reward Houston. Whatever. How did this help Derek Lewis at all? Especially now in the way that he lost and the fact that the only offense that he had was complaining about an eye poke, a kick in the nuts, and throwing his own high pokes. So I don't know. I'm baffled. I don't even know. It doesn't even make any sense. Even just to have a championship fight on a pay-per-view, it didn't make any sense and didn't help anybody. Nobody wants to know. Gane and Ngannou people would want to see anyway. Although John Jones is still the guy that people want to see the most against Ngannou, but regardless of that, I apologize. I just blew my mind. I just wanted to get that out of the way early here. Yeah,
well, I mean, Ciryl Gane, after this fight, clearly this guy is one of the top fighters on the planet. He was like to me, it was like a throwback to the old K1 heavyweights of their heyday. You know, this guy was an athlete, a level above Derek Lewis. He was light on his feet. He can move in and out. He was doing some offense, and this will probably fly over most people's heads. But the way he was moving in and out was very reminiscent of Kazuo Masaki at some points, which you really don't see out of heavyweights. You know, he was using a variety of different stances. He was using like a karate stance. He'd go back to a normal boxing stance. He would go back to a, kind of like an MMA stance. He was very versatile with his strikes, and he looked like he was a John Jones level fighter to me. Very intelligent, and he basically pitched a perfect game. He pitched a shutout against Derek Lewis. I think at one point they threw up. I think at one point, probably after the fight, Derek Lewis probably threw up too. But I think they threw up the stats, and it was like one head strike landed for Derek Lewis, one body strike, one leg strike, and a plethora of strikes to the head, to the body, to the legs from Ciryl Gane. And I thought that he just looked like one of the top heavyweights that I've ever seen, honestly, in the history of MMA. And I thought that he could easily, I don't want to say easily, this is not easy for anybody to do, but he could beat Ngannou. He could beat John Jones. He was up there at that level, I thought, with this performance.
Derek Lewis, 0 for 5 significant strikes in the first round, 2 for 7 in the second round. This is to the head, which is the only place Derek Lewis throws, and 6 for 12 in the third round. So just a combined 8 of 24, 16 of 37 overall. Gane, 98 of 122 signature strikes landed. That's exactly what I wrote down in my little notes here, talking about watching him float in and out. And he's obviously a Muay Thai practitioner as well too. But that's what he reminded me of was like a K1 style fighter, especially when he would slip into that kickboxing stance. And it was, as you mentioned, a perfect performance against the perfect guy to be able to float in and out of stances on and be able to light up. Derek Lewis threw his 1 and 2 big shots, and that's all he had. And Gane, it was in the third round where he landed the kick to his leg, and as soon as he landed it, I'm not sure how long the fight went on after that, if it was like 40 seconds or whatever, but you could see it all over Lewis's face. And frankly, you could see it all over Lewis's face. Initially when he came in, he's very focused, you think very dead on, but that expression never changed. And it's almost like he floated into space the longer that fight went on, and the more those punches landed, and the more he couldn't catch Gane with his big 1-2 windmill type punches, the more energy and the more spirit of his just completely quickly disappeared from his body.
Yeah, that leg strike that you talked about, which kind of set Derek Lewis onto a downward spiral. Ciryl Gane landed a ton of those. Not a ton, he didn't land 2,000, but he landed a non-literal ton of those in the first round. He was chipping away. Ciryl Gane was in a southpaw stance most of the fight, and Derek Lewis was in the orthodox stance, and that leads to the ability to land a low outside leg kick, and it's not something that the orthodox fighter has to generally deal with when they're fighting somebody else who's orthodox. That kick generally comes as a low outside roundhouse kick or a low leg kick, and that is a longer strike. It takes longer for that strike to develop. It takes longer for the back foot to get to that lead leg. And with the southpaw versus orthodox stance, that's a much quicker strike, and that's the one that ate up Lewis during this fight. That's the one that really kind of ended the fight in a lot of ways, because after that, Gane was able to press him up against the cage. He was able to land some uppercuts. Derek Lewis looked like he had slipped one time when he went down from an uppercut and got covered in ooze because he turtled up like he was Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael against the cage and ate some more punches. He was able to get some separation. Gane landed another right hand to the eye, and that was pretty much the end of it.
So, okay. Derek Lewis diets to get down to 265 pounds. He looked like a glacier in there. I mean, he absolutely did, and it's like, you got Gane bouncing around, and obviously it's not the same type of athlete, and you are what you are as a fighter at this point with Derek Lewis, but Would he not be better served to be a little bit more into shape if he's going to do this? Because, I mean, I know he lives and dies by the big punch, and that's what we want to see with him in there. But, you know, and again, I know this is also the heavyweight division, too, where a man can last into his 50s as long as he's got a good enough punch. But it's, you know, with Lewis, it's like, you know, I don't want to see him. I don't know. He seems to be, he would be far better served to be about like 20 pounds lighter. You're still going to be bigger than anybody you go in there with. But it would be dramatically extend his career and his chances of actually getting over on Ngannou again or getting over on Gane the second time around, because I'm sure by nature of the heavyweight division we're going to see that. So I don't know. I just would figure if he wants to keep, you know, if he wants to be in the mix, maybe he ought to like take the training a little bit more seriously. Would I be wrong about this? Would I get beat up for saying this by Derek Lewis? That the man may be having some ho-hos or something like that during training. He's not cutting carbs. He's not cutting out pizza.
Well, I mean, he's in better shape than he was, and there's no doubt about that. One of the things that they talked about was that he had knee surgery not too long ago, and his back has gotten a lot better. Remember, he was complaining about his back for a long time. So to me, I don't think this was like a case of him being out of shape. I think this is a case of him being outgunned. I think this is a case of him being outmanned. And, you know, like one of the things in the media leading up to this fight that was ballyhooed by many people was, man, Derek Lewis is just so strong. It's just different when you get in there and you grab a hold of him. And what happened? Every time he clinched up with Cyril Gane overpowered him.
Yeah.
So to me, you know, I don't think this is like necessarily a case of him
you
being
can be big and not strong.
He tried to push the pace a few times. Come on. You think Derek Lewis isn't strong? Really? Out of all the people you're going to throw this at, the guy's clearly a freak.
I'm not saying that he's not
strength.
strong, but like you're going in there with Cyril Gane, who you obviously know is going to be moving. You've seen enough of him. It's not like tape doesn't exist. Where like it just seems like if you do the same thing. Again, look, and I'm not saying that he's not strong or anything like that, but he obviously Gane not only overpowered him, he outslicked him. So it's like he used his power against him. So, you know, I don't know. It was a poor performance for Derek Lewis. And, like, I wanted to give him credit when the fight started, but how it went on and how it ended and what he was complaining about. I mean, there was a point in I believe it was the end of the first round, where they are throwing punches at the end. They both land at the same time, and you can see clearly Gane landed a punch right to Lewis's eye. And Lewis is now complaining that he got a thumb in his eye. Meanwhile, they show Lewis's punch land. Lewis has got his finger out. He actually did hit Gane in the eye. And yeah, Gane complained about it, and it happened more throughout the fight. But it's like, you know, right there's a terrible sign, and that was the end of the first round.
Yeah. I mean, you got a point there. I mean, what can I say? The last time I like seeing a thumb go into an eye was on Emmanuel. So what can I?
So Cyril Gane is going to certainly get Francis Ngannou. So what do you do now with Derek Lewis? Because, you know, I don't know. Do we see Miocic Part 3, or what's the next step here? Because obviously he's going to stay, you know, in the top 6. I would figure fighting somebody. Do you do a third fight with Stipe here or what?
Yeah, I don't know. Stipe's over there sending messages to ONE FC on Instagram. So who knows what's going on there?
What, are you going to work at another trade again? That worked out so well for everybody the last time.
Well, it depends who you are. I mean, if you're ONE FC and you're looking to get some credibility over the UFC, then Adriano Moraes kneeing, you know, old Demetrius Johnson in the face there, knocking him out was probably as good as you're going to get. But at the same time, well, at least Askren came in. Well, I mean, Mighty Mouse got a few wins. That was in a tournament, so he was at least at the end of that tournament there. But yeah, I guess it was kind of a wash, really.
He got him a buy rate too, so there was that.
Who did? Askren?
Didn't he? Yeah.
I mean, I think it was kind of a loaded show. I think it's more Masvidal versus Askren than Askren himself. But
yeah, that's true.
Who knows? So yeah, I think it was kind of a wash for both of them. I don't know. What did Mighty Mouse do on TNT? I don't think he did that well. Not as well as Askren did. So,
'tis true.
Yeah.
No, it still does well, even though he's almost as old as we are. Jose Aldo.
Yeah,
still amazing.
Well, he's 34 years old, Mike. Which, you think it's like at the end of this fight, I write back, Jose Aldo turns back the clock, and then it's like, wait a minute. This guy's 4 years younger than I am. He's, by UFC standards, if you think back through the history, Chuck Liddell was champion at like 38. Now, granted, that was Chuck Liddell, and that was a long time ago. But Jose Aldo is clearly one of the top fighters in the world still here at 34 years old. 34, right? So this guy's been at the top of the game fighting. When's the last time he fought somebody that wasn't in the top 10 in the last 15 years? Right? Has it happened?
No, I mean, all of his fights in WEC, I mean, even in the WEC days when they were on Versus and he was ruling the roost there, I mean, he has been on top. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest fighters of all time. I don't know if he'll get his due. I think he will. He will amongst fight fans. As far as like the general sports fan, though, I don't know if his name pops up there as more as of an opponent for Conor McGregor. Unfortunately, I think for the mainstream, and that's too bad because he is phenomenal. And his speed, he started the fight and started that third round like he ended it with just fast, rapid punches, great jab. And Pedro Munoz, I didn't realize he was actually the same age as Aldo. But, I mean, it was, obviously they were both going to go out there and throw hands, but Aldo looked so good doing it. He looked so good. And he didn't look like, Munoz was bouncing around at the beginning. Aldo stayed very calm. And at no point did Aldo, it's not like he ever did anything eccentric or did anything, out of overly, I'm not saying overly exciting or anything like that. It was just meat and potatoes, fists and feet, and just a great workman's performance with just moments of turning back the clock with explosive hand speed and just looking fantastic. Great defense, did a great job.
Yeah, they talked continually throughout this fight about Jose Aldo working with the Brazilian Marine boxing team, and it showed because his hands look great. Up until the third round, he largely abandoned what was his old strategy of firing off leg kicks until the guy couldn't walk. But he kind of got back to that in the third round. Munoz, throughout the fight, was the one who would, if you're looking at this as far as who's aggressive and walking forward, that would be Pedro Munoz. But Jose Aldo was the more effective striker throughout pretty much all of the 3 rounds. In the third round, he actually sent Munoz to the floor with one of the leg kicks that he was starting to pile on. And this was a very solid win, a Mark Henry-esque performance in the way that he's still got a lot left in the tank, if you know what I mean. When he came out, he got a big, and in the first round, huge. This was like the Rey Mysterio style legend pop from the crowd. He came out and the crowd went nuts. In the first round, they were chanting, "Let's go, Aldo." And yeah, this was it was just a great performance. Like you said, a workman-like performance, but a solid fight from both guys. And, I guess it kind of solidifies Pedro Munoz as one of these guys who's worthy to be at the top of the card, no matter who he's in there against. And it solidifies Aldo as, an all-time legend, I think, obviously.
How do you think Dominic Cruz did working for a fight or working towards a fight with him? Because he certainly, with his cheering section introduction there during the introductions of putting him over, and I can't believe him in the same division. Like, yeah, we know, Dominic. You've said this now several times. Seemed like he was the one that was angling for that fight more than anybody.
He was either angling for a fight with him or he was trying to fight Daniel Cormier
It's tremendous at the beginning. Yeah,
during the Penne
during
the Penne and Kovalevich fight that happened earlier on. So
did Aldo fight Rob Font? He hasn't fought Rob Font yet, right? I don't think he has.
I don't know. There's
a
lot of guys at this weight class, a lot of studs.
And Font's one of the ones in front of him right now. So I don't think he has. So if he hasn't, that's a fight that makes sense. And again, it's a good one. Obviously, it's a good one for Font because he needs all the exposure that he can get and all the increase in his name values he can get. And, I don't know if Aldo wants to take that fight, if it's too risky or something like that, if he can sit in there and wait for, the Jan Sterling winner or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at this point he's like I could see him challenging for the title again. And a year or two ago, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said, like, it seems like he's one of these guys who's probably just going to stay fighting around the, number 5 to 10 guys in the division for a long time. But, down here at bantamweight, it looks like he's, a title contender once again. So, I'm here for it. Let's see it. Let's see the Jose Aldo Legends Tour here as he tries to work his way back to the championship. Be a cool story.
30th MMA victory for Aldo. And that's officially. God knows how many other fights he may have had. Welterweight division fight. Vicente Luque, who is I don't know. I'll have to do. I'll after I throw it to you. I'll have to look up and see if he won performance of the night. He had to have won something tonight, and he is a machine at getting these things. 4-fight win streak now. Defeats Michael Chiesa in a fight that it looked like for a moment that he would lose. It was an awesome. I don't know how long did it go here. What did it end up going? 3 minutes and 25 seconds. It was awesome. Wins with a Darce choke. Luque landed, and Chiesa responded with a big takedown. He immediately body locked him, went for a choke, but there was and then an armbar, I think it was. Yeah, it was an armbar, and then Luque ended up turning over, getting the top of Chiesa, and as Chiesa was on his knees, just left his neck wide open, and Luque locked on this choke, flipped him over, and Chiesa tried to fight it, but that was that, and it was just it wasn't a Gable Stevenson reversal of fortune, but it was akin to that, and it went just as fast. Where Luque just so impressive, such a cool looking choke. I think this is his second Darce choke win. He's won by like 3 or 4 different chokes anyway. He's just just absolutely amazing performance.
Yes, Vicente Luque got one of the performance bonuses. This was, I believe, his 3rd win by Darce choke. They said his best choke, and a choke that he's won some other fights with, is the Anaconda choke, which you used the word akin to earlier. And if there are 2 chokes that are akin to each other, it is the Darce and the Anaconda, as they're essentially the same thing but locked up. With one with an arm on the inside of the body and one with an arm on the outside of the body. Like you said, this was for the 3 minutes plus that it lasted. This was a back and forth fight. Chiesa was moving laterally back and forth up against the cage. Left, right. Landed a 1-2 down the middle. Luque looked to fire back. Chiesa shot underneath with a double leg. Almost immediately took the back. And as Luque looked to work out of that position, Chiesa was starting to find himself on bottom, switched quickly to an arm bar. Looked like he was going to have that for almost a second, but Luque got out of that, moved almost directly into the Darce choke. And to me, it looked like for a second like Chiesa was about to roll out, but Luque worked himself back. And the key to finishing this choke, if you could tell, was Luque had his left arm underneath the body, underneath the right arm, and around the neck of Chiesa. His own right arm is locking up the wrist on his own left arm, creating the choke. And a lot of times there will be space for the defender, to work to all fours or get his body to the floor. But Luque elevated the head, kept his head on Luque's body, essentially using Luque's body like a pillow, but also at the same time taking away any space that Chiesa could have to create with his neck on that side. And he finished that choke, and it was quite a finish against the number 5 ranked guy in the division, a guy who's looked like an absolute killer on the ground and looked like it was going to continue in that direction initially in this fight. And, just what a phenomenal performance. What can you say? Luque's got to move up. I don't know where he goes from here. He called for a title shot.
Very politely called out Kamaru Usman. Yeah, it was, and stated his case as to why he's the only one who hasn't mixed it up with him yet. I mean, just back to the fight for a minute, when Luque turned and started to take the advantage there, and obviously Chiesa on his knees, head was exposed, neck was exposed, and that happened. What should he have done there, in that moment, or was there anything to do there? It was just an issue of circumstance, and that Luque was so skilled he took advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, really, the bigger issue was him losing the back position, because he went from being on bottom to on all fours in a front headlock, and then he got finished. But previous to that, right before that, he was in the advantageous position. He was in the position which he had Luque in a lot of trouble, and he almost had the fight finished. And he had one hook set, I believe. He was continually trying to rip of Luque, and one of the times when he pulled him back up against the cage, Luque kind of held his ground a little bit, and that allowed him to work out of it. So, perhaps Chiesa should have been efficient on the back. On the back, there were 3 minutes left in the round. It was pretty early on in the round, which he had the advantage, and he looked for the finish, doggedly, and really that's what cost him in the long run. He looked for that finish, and when he didn't get the rear naked choke finish, and he was about to find himself on bottom, instead of trying to scramble up and wrestle, which would have been to his benefit, and also he had landed punches on the feet. It wasn't like he was getting beat up. There wasn't a ton of punches on the feet. In hindsight, he should have stood up and gone back to the wrestling game. From that, instead of going for the arm bar. And that's really what cost him. That's what ended up with him on bottom, and that's what ended up with him in the choke.
So Luque obviously stated his case there. Just looking at the rankings here. Colby, Gilbert Burns, Leon Edwards, Stephen Thompson, Chiesa, and obviously Luque is going to at the very least replace Chiesa there. So interesting. Masvidal behind him, Magny behind him. So tons of fights there, tons of good fights. Now, here's the one thing. Now, Luque and Usman, if you put them in there with the way Usman looks right now, let's just say you just throw them in there, video game style, choose your fighter. Who are you taking with Usman being as hot as he is right now?
Usman and Luque?
Yeah. With how Luque looked tonight.
I guess it's Usman. You know what I mean? To me, Chiesa could have won this. We could easily be talking about Michael Chiesa defeating Vicente Luque in a wash. Now, granted, that's what didn't happen, but it looked for a second like that's what was going to happen. And to me, I think it was more of a tactical error on the part of Chiesa losing the back control and Luque then taking advantage, and Luque fighting out of a ton of adversity there and getting the win. But, I could be wrong, obviously, but I would take Usman.
And we'll have to see where it goes, too. Just probably within the next 2 fights for both of these guys, they'll probably be facing each other again because, it's one of those things that was so short. And as you mentioned, he could have went the other way early on, but Luque was able to get out of it.
Am I the only one not counting out Colby Covington here? I thought the Colby Covington and Usman fight, the original fight, was pretty damn close up until the finish. And it seems to me like everybody is just counting out Covington like Usman winning is a foregone conclusion. But, even with relative inactivity, to me, I don't think that's as big of a factor as a lot of people think. And I think Covington's got a better shot of coming home the champion than really most people are giving him credit for. Now, I mean, you could point to Usman's recent activity and, his wins and the fact that he's arguably looked his best as he's ever been at this time. But Covington is a guy, he hasn't fought the same kind of fighter as Covington is. Covington's a guy who's going to move forward. He's going to pressure you. And he's not one of these guys who they talk about being a pressure fighter who's just active, moving around. He's actually going to pressure you and get in your face and try to tire you out. And I think a lot of people are just discounting him,
I guess, but I mean, Usman's, knocked out 3 of his last 4, including Colby. So, I mean, that's got something to do with it. And the fact that Colby's a dick, and people, like to hate Colby, and Colby likes to be hated. So, yeah, I bet you that's got I'm not saying as much to do with that as anything, but he's one of those people that it's very easy to plant your flag on either side and then root for them. I don't want to say blindly, but if you're rooting against Colby, there's no way you're going to publicly say you're going to take him in a fight or that you believe he's got a chance to win. He's just one of those guys.
Hold on, Mike.
Yes.
What you're saying is that people will let their personal bias affect how they think a fight is going to turn out. Is that what you're telling me?
Hey, I'm not saying I made a whole lot of money on people that love to bet on Ricky Hatton no matter what, but I did.
Well, good for you. That's why you can live with this cushy job here on the podcast and just do that for a living.
How dare you? By the way, were we getting any tips in the Twitch jar? No? Oh, well.
Probably not.
Looks like we will be going to work again this week, but
I'll be going to work on the Strip. Maybe Fremont Street if things get rough.
I'm just going to skip over what I wanted to say there. It's not late enough for that. Tisha Torres.
Go for it. Come on.
Tisha Torres. Overkill Angela Hill.
Yeah.
Well, I talked about Derek Lewis being a statue, and, Angela Hill was a far more effective statue, but her stance killed her against Tisha Torres. It was a great performance, I thought, for Torres, but more than that, it was Hill gave her all of the opportunity to do so because she was so vertical up and down with no head movement whatsoever when it came to standing in there. And it's not like she didn't land effectively and efficiently because she did. It's just that Torres, I think, tripled her up on almost everything. And takedown into the third round with only 10 seconds left. I mean, she completely dominated the third round. So if there was any question about the first 2, Torres just went ahead and smoked her. But I thought it was great performance for Tisha Torres, but I was really surprised that there wasn't a second gear or a third or fourth or whatever gear for Angela Hill.
Yeah, Tisha Torres, Tiny Tempa. Is that what no, Tiny Tornado.
Tiny Tornado?
Yeah.
The Tiny Temptress? No, they used to
no.
Never mind.
Tiny Tempa is a rapper from the UK. It was a joke which you didn't pick up on.
Wait, how do you have the most obscure rap knowledge level I've ever seen in my entire life?
That's right. But Tisha Torres also, Mike, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, the co-pride of Fall River, Massachusetts. You know who else was born in Fall River, Massachusetts?
Brutal Bob Evans.
I don't know if that's true. He lived very close to there, and he was actually, for a period, delivering packages to my parents' house. I don't know if that gives too much information on either side. But, no, I was referring to me.
Of course.
I was referring to me, filthy Tom Lawlor, who was born at, I believe, St. Anne's Hospital in Fall River, Massachusetts on May 15th, 1983. You can check the records. That's the truth. Why anyone would lie about that, I don't know. But regardless, there's two UFC fighters that have come from that area. One of them is ranked number 10 currently. One of them never has been. So let's talk about the one who was number 10, and that's Tecia Torres, because she'll be moving up in the rankings after this performance. Angela Hill caught a kick real early on, got a takedown for a second, but that was essentially her best moments of the fight. She tried to bully Tecia against the cage with takedowns, but I believe she got like one more, but Torres got right back up, started back in with constant movement. This was a fight in which she undoubtedly lived up to her nickname. She was all over the place, spitting attacks, bouncing in and out with strikes, flurries, blitzes throughout the 3 rounds, and she landed a ton of hooks over the top of Hill's defense, which was mostly walking forward, looking for the clinch. And I thought this is a great performance out of Tecia Torres. Both girls, fought their ass off for the full 15 minutes, but clearly dominant for Tecia Torres. In the post-fight speech, she dedicated this fight to her grandmother who's fighting cancer. And, I thought she just came off like a star here in this fight.
31 years old, and it feels like it's been, a lifetime a few times with her. I mean, still has never been stopped. All of her fights have, even her loss, all of her losses have been decisions. And, her size is an issue, when it comes to, facing the upper tier, but she showed tonight why she's such an exciting fighter. And obviously, I guess I didn't know that this was part of the storyline. I guess Hill didn't like her looks, or is played out the fact that Ticia's looks was there. Did I miss that storyline there? But regardless, marketable. Always thought she has been, and much like Michelle Waterson, she's going to be, as long as obviously her body holds up. I love watching her fight, and again, it's just a zillion miles an hour, and she was all over the place. She was bouncing all over the place, and that was made even more stark by the fact that Hill wasn't, and just was like, again, it was like playing like an Atari 2600 video game with Angela Hill, where it's just she would line up and she would strike, but there was not a whole lot going on as Torres was going like a tornado all the way around her.
Mike, you talked about Tecia Torres being a fighter who has struggled with size issues throughout their life, and I'm just here to say that is something very common with people from Fall River, Massachusetts.
Size issues there?
Yes.
Well, it's Tecia Torres has now won 3 in a row. Angela Hill has lost 3 of 4, so Torres had lost 4 in a row too, so again, it feels like a lifetime a few times in a division though. Here again, and this is the awesome part about that division is there are a zillion names. Obviously Rose, and I would assume that Wei Li is going to have a rematch at some point here. But the Esparzas, Gadella, Joanna,
who? The Esperanza? Somebody's fighting the Esperanza? Are you kidding me?
Hustle never
I'm here
die.
for that.
This is talking about the night of Pride Never Die. This was the night of WEC Never Die. Which, by the way, when they said Vicente Luque has got the second most finishes in 170-pound history with 13, the second most.
What?
Mike Brown is the one who's got the most finishes. They have got to be counting the WEC, right? 14 finishes for Mike Brown. Did he have that many fights in the UFC?
Hold on. You mean Jose Aldo, right?
No, Luque. Didn't it? Wasn't it? Is it Aldo?
There's no way. Well, hold on. So they're counting Mike Brown's fights as in the UFC. He has the most finishes in the UFC history? I'm confused.
It's got to be combined with WEC then. He had 14. That number blew me
away.
Mike
Brown?
Yes.
Maybe they meant he's coached 14 finishes.
That's
because like Horiguchi probably had a few,
Well,
like Dustin
Luque,
Poirier, I don't know.
Woodley, Brown, Price,
Keep going. I want to hear all 14.
Barberina, Turner, Laprice, Nico Price again.
I'll look up Mike Brown. Keep going. You're going to get to 14.
Bilal Muhammad, Hector Urbina, Alvaro Herrera
In the
Hader
UFC?
Hassan? All in the UFC. Michael Graves.
Alvaro Herrera? That's not a real guy.
That's a UFC Fight Night Dos Anjos Alvarez in 2016. I don't know if that was Brian Alvarez or not, but yeah. That's
Geraldo Rivera did not fight against Vicente Luque.
Muhammad Hassan, he fought in December of 2015, defeated him with an anaconda choke.
Okay, you ready? This
Yes.
is finishes?
Finishes, yeah.
This can't be Mike Brown. I don't think he has total 14 finishes.
That's what it seems.
You mean Matt Brown?
Is it
Matt
say Mike
Brown?
Oh, Matt Brown?
Matt Brown.
I mean, that makes more sense if the
Oh
Immortal
my
does.
God!
Okay.
Mike Brown.
Okay,
Jesus.
that's what I thought. I thought they said Mike Brown. I thought on the graphic
my
it said
God.
Mike Brown.
The guy. No,
That would make sense. Okay.
He had 14 finishes against Uriah Faber. I think that was the stat that they threw up there. That's what Mike Brown had. Matt
Okay,
Brown.
well, now-
It's got to be
now-
Matt Brown at welterweight.
Okay, the universe is now equal again. Okay, because that made no sense to me whatsoever. Now I know why.
Yeah,
It's 'cause
before
I'm
that,
fucking
before
blind.
that, you're right. Before that, the universe was fucking out of whack because it revolves around what's being talked about on this show. So,
Should we talk about Yadong instead?
everybody else couldn't stop. You want to talk about Akinelli put it in your mouth? People couldn't stop getting your dong out of their mouth.
That's
Dean Thomas couldn't stop cracking jokes about Yadong. Song Yadong. Oh, I can barely laugh. I can barely say it without laughing.
Casey
The announcer's
Kenny.
like, oh, I was just going to say that too. Oh, were you, DC? You were just about to say that too. You were about to make a Yadong joke. Get out of here.
Well,
Anyways.
Casey Kenny thought he Yadong in hand. And
Who
it
won
didn't
this
work
fight?
out. It was a
Yadong?
little slippery. Yes, he did.
I went and picked up a pizza.
Split decision, by the way, which didn't make any sense to me because I'm not sure which round Kenny won. But
Well, I just asked you who won the fight. So that should
Song
tell you
Yadong.
right there that it was close enough. I couldn't tell because I watched it, and then I left to get that pizza.
I was going to say, but it was so important for you to find out that you got the pizza, which, by the way, what was on the pizza?
Oh, boy. This is quite a kicker. You're going to have to give me a second to find this one. Just keep going.
Did you get the Hawaiian? Yeah. In any event, Song Yadong just...
I gotta find out. Hey, let me type this in. Hold on.
Okay.
Ingredients on a margarita.
Casey
going.
Kenny got beat up by Song Yadong. Okay, that's really kind of what it came down to. The
Yudong
Whatever
was
the hell.
pumping it in his face over and over with the jab.
yes, he was. It took a lot of Yadong to his face. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So
Kenny would try to get close to Yudong. Yudong would basically tease him. and move back.
197 head strikes thrown by Yadong. Landed 66, 257, and that was really it. Absolutely outstruck him. More effective with the punching, and Kenny threw a little bit of a fit at the end, like he couldn't believe he didn't win the fight. But the fact of the matter was, Yadong dominated the third round of that fight. So again, if there was any question about the first two, I'm not saying that Kenny gave it away, but Yadong certainly took it. So there you go. Yadong landing stiff, landing hard, and he is erect tonight.
Yeah, these were some hairy rounds for both guys, for Kenny and Yadong. Yeah, like you said, Yadong was just he was able to edge himself out the win tonight.
That was the pay-per-view because Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes didn't fight because...
Hold on, you don't want to hear about my pizza?
I do. Did you find the... I can't believe that this was so exotic that you actually had to, like, have me fill some time before you got to the pizza that you had ordered. Or you plan on throwing it back up Draws style or something?
Do you want to hear what's on the pizza?
Yes.
Or do you want to complain about
hear
hearing what's on the pizza? Okay, thank you. The doctor's pizza. That's why I couldn't remember what was on it.
The doctor's pizza?
The doctor's, yes. Pesto sauce, fresh mozzarella, roasted garlic, sliced shallots, shrimp, sweet and hot pepper rings,
Damn, look at you.
along with some frito misto.
What is frito misto?
It's like lightly fried calamari, shrimp, vegetables, hot peppers. Phenomenal.
Damn, look at you.
Yeah.
You had some wine with that too, or
No, actually, I got this the Wizard Nebula right here, the old Wizard Nebula Hazy India Pale Ale, which, by the way, I'm out of it, so I might as well. I mean, I gotta go to the bathroom.
what was the alcohol content on that? Is it
Excuse
just
me?
like every other kind of crappy IPA? Is it anything going on
Yeah.
with it, or was it just everyday IPA? Not that if they're going to sponsor us,
No,
I love their product.
It's
but
7.5%, so
solid.
it's somewhere in there.
At some point though, it's like ice beer was like honky malt liquor. Like that was like everybody would always put down malt liquor, and they should because it was horrible. But it's like all of these ice beers came out, and then it's like the high alcohol content, and now just everyday beer starts off at like 8%. Like every beer is like 6.5%, with the exception of Guinness, I guess. But everything else is just like it's at least 5.5%, 6%.
Lagers,
Everything.
pilsners. There's the ones that kick around about 5.5, 6. I mean, I'm an IPA guy, right? Like if I'm gonna drink, I'm in it for the effect. I'm not in it for the taste. Let's be honest. This stuff tastes like absolute shit. I like to drink the one that tastes the most like weed because I figure that's the one that's gonna fuck me up the greatest.
Now, do you have
if
to
there's
balance
anybody
it
out
out,
there,
though?
hey, listen, if there's anybody out there that has a lead on some beer that tastes like meth or heroin, let me know.
Aren't you in the
Because-
spot for that in Vegas? You got a crossroads somewhere out there.
Actually, I haven't seen one. I'm aware of what those are as well, but no, I haven't been to one.
Well,
that I know of.
That's look, it's forgot where I was going to go. Actually, you know what? We should talk about the undercard here momentarily because
I was gonna go get this, whatever this is, this fucking what is it, Wizard Nebula.
well, go get another one.
God, it sounds like what's under some Wiccan skirt.
Some Wiccan skirt. Where's that stuff from, by the way? Or is it just like some generic fake IPA, or a fake microbrew?
Modern Times, San Diego,
Okay.
the home of
Stone Brewery in that San Diego.
no, yeah, that's an Escondido. That's a phenomenal place, by the way. They have like a restaurant and a nature gardens there that are just, I mean, you could spend hours in there and get lost and have one of the best days ever. I've never been personally, but
Maybe you should. Sounds
I'm
pretty
fucking
goddamn
around.
good, actually.
I went years ago.
So it
I went
takes
years
you
ago
on.
with Heath Sims, the old coach from Team Quest and one FC's big time group there, Evolve MMA. So had a
Thank God
great
he didn't
time.
go with Wes Sims. Would have been a little more sloppy.
I don't think I would. I've heard not good stories about hanging out with Wes Sims.
Hey, I hate to say it, put it this way, but seriously, I don't know if you saw the prelims, but Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
Can I get this beer?
Oh,
real
go
quick?
ahead. Yes,
I wasn't kidding.
Then go ahead, get the
no.
beer.
I mean, I gotta go to the bathroom.
God
My
damn
kids
it.
are yelling.
Jesus.
There's someone at the
Why?
door.
Maybe it's another pizza.
Ah,
Who the
Dog
hell's
ate
at
my
the
ho-
door?
dog ate my homework.
It's go get your beer, for heaven's sake. Anyway, as he goes and does that, and I'll ask him about it afterwards, at the undercard, and I didn't see all of the prelims on the early prelims, but I saw the ESPN ones in Carolina, where Karolina Kowalkiewicz dumbed herself out of a job. I hate to say this, and I hate to put it like that, but she's now lost 5 in a row, and lost, I think she's 5-7 overall now in the UFC. 5-7 overall now in the UFC. Penny's second win after being off for 4 years. Kowalkiewicz caught a kick, dragged her down to the mat, and then I don't know what it was after she went down. She decided to go down to the mat. Didn't drag her down. Decided to go down to the mat with her. It ended up getting armbarred. The announcers called it out. It was just one of those things where it just seemed like an incredible lapse. But considering that what her record is at, and as I mentioned now, this is losing 5 in a row now, and there had seemed to be some talk leading into this.
She's lost 5 in a row? KK?
Yes, she has.
Wow.
Which, by the way, as she was announced by Bruce Buffer, it was like Buffer just like wrote down like 2 Polish words on 2 pieces of paper and then like balled them up slowly back to back, and that's how he pronounced Kolakevich.
Do you want me to get my wife down here to pronounce this in its popular nomenclature or what? Like, what the hell?
She can actually hit all the accent marks?
Well, she speaks Polish. My kids go to Polish school. My mother-in-law is Polish. She was born in Poland.
Kids go to Polish school?
Yes, my kids go to Polish language school on Saturday. My mother-in-law is a 3-time Olympian for Poland in the sport of gymnastics. So that's her native language. Her husband, my father-in-law, that's his native language.
Who screws in
their
light
whole
bulbs
family?
In their house?
Well, I'll tell you who doesn't, and that's me. I don't do shit. So
what a son-in-law you are. Do they look at you with just disdain or what? They only love you because of the grandkids, don't they?
They don't even look at me. But if you take me to get my wife down here to pronounce this right, I could. But I believe it's Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
Call her down here.
Oh, shit. It's her birthday, too, by the way. Think about that.
Yes.
This is what I'm doing.
Today. Yeah, I was saying, what, is it actually today?
Yeah, currently.
Oh, my God.
She was like, we could go to the bar, but you got to do this show.
Thank you. Now you're going to guilt the viewers? You're not going to. It won't work on me, but you can guilt the viewers.
Well, we had a party on Wednesday.
How was it?
Well,
from what you can remember,
it was one of the women from her boot camp got really drunk and barfed. So,
is this a yoga boot camp? What is this?
Hardcore working out, man. Kettlebells.
God, the whole family with the kettlebells and whatnot. Are they throwing clubs now? Are the kids like actually working on Persian clubs?
By the way, that's a mace. I often get hit up about this after I appear on New Japan Strong. Oh, people, you're swinging the Persian club. Maybe because Kevin Kelly keeps fucking saying it, but that's a mace. It's a gada. It's an Indian tool. It's not the Persian club. Yes. Thank you. A gada.
I'll tell
There's
Kevin
different. They're completely different. One's a lot longer. The mace is a longer tool, which I have been searching for basically my whole life.
But
finally I found it.
That's just a legitimate
not
question.
What I meant.
How do you do that?
Not what I meant. How do I get the mace? You can go on. I have quite a few different ones. I have one from On It. I have one from Wolf Brigade. I have one from the Wolf Party. I have one from Shoulder Rock, which is a Kabuki strength company. Don't go Google Wolf Party, by the way, in case you're wondering. I was once in Philadelphia getting drunk with one of my friends, and we tried to go to a strip club at like 2 p.m. on a Sunday. And we walk up, and the guy looks at us, he goes, you here for the Wolf Party? And we look at each other, we're like, yeah, we'll hang out with those guys, yeah. And the guy goes, I wouldn't recommend coming in here with sandals on. And me and my friend are like, what the hell is this guy talking about? We're like, yeah, we'll go in. He goes, look, I can't let you guys go in there. He goes, like, go look up what a Wolf Party is. So
now I kind of want to look up what a Wolf Party is. But I'm scared. But you shouldn't go in with sandals on. You don't want to expose anything there, I guess?
I don't know if that's the kind of party that Necro has been to, but he definitely probably knows what goes on at these places. Let me say.
I don't know. I googled wolf party and I got a wolf birthday party. I got a wolf with a little like birthday hat on. Something tells me
Yeah.
It's I don't want to dig any further with this though, so I'll just close that up right now. And
You don't want to dig in the wolf party at all, brother. You don't want to go digging around those parts.
It's something you could find out more about on X Hamster or something like that.
That's one that doesn't get thrown out there very often. X Hamster, really? Wow. Usually it's like a good Red Tube or
Pornhub. Yeah, you gotta go a little different.
Wow, X Hamster. Fuck.
For use with your Trojan UFC shows.
That's up there with my usual go-to of Faces of Death. The old VHS. I like to throw those on, you know.
I remember watching Faces of Death, and I remember like the whole thing seemed so fake, except when they actually had like the news footage. They did have like real newsreel footage. It was nasty, like the car accident, and like one of the flying Walendas, I guess, like busting ass off of in Puerto Rico or something like that. They did have that, but it was like, remember they did the monkey brain thing, like you hit the monkey at the top of the head. Was that the first one or the second one? Where they did that and they eat the monkey brains, and it's like, oh, come on. Come on, at least work a little bit harder to make this something disgusting. Or more disgusting.
I don't know which one it was, number 1 or number 2. How could I? There was that. There was Too Hot for TV. What do you think? I got like this stuff queued up, like I know what segment was what.
I don't know. I thought you're the one who brought it up. What was Too Hot?
No, I didn't make it 3 minutes into that video before I was finished. Are you kidding me?
I'm sure you finished all right. Never mind. There were other fights on this show, including Ed Herman, who's 917 years old.
You know what? I lost $20 because of Ed Herman. I bet a $20 parlay on Ed Herman, Michael Chiesa, and Derek Lewis. So in retrospect, all right.
Took the collar there, but hey, if you're gonna take it dramatically, and you did. Alonzo Menefield seemed like a nice guy. Unanimous decision victory. Kicked the leg out of his leg. Now here's the thing that got me about this, because there was a hematoma on Herman's lead leg. Like by the time the first round was over, didn't think he'd be able to like hop around in the second round at all, and he does. And in the third round, after all of this damage that he has taken to his leg, Menefield throws 3 leg kicks. I didn't comprehend at all of why he just stopped throwing when, again, it seemed like that was a pretty good strategy.
Now, this is the second time in history that I can remember Herman coming out with a hematoma on his leg. This one, of course, Ed Herman with a hematoma on his left leg. The other one, Pee Wee Herman with a hematoma on his third leg in the theater in Sarasota years ago. But yeah, Alonzo Menefield dominated the fight with low leg kicks, some calf kicks, took out Herman's left leg early on. This actually forced Herman to fight in a southpaw stance, severely limiting him throughout the fight. And Menefield kind of had his way after the first 3 minutes. This was like a good showcase fight for Menefield. He didn't take much damage, got an easy victory over a veteran who is actually on a 3-fight win streak here. Big fan of Ed Herman. Now I'm also a fan of Alonzo Menefield. He put over Ed Herman big time in the post-fight interview. And, he looks to move forward.
Bantamweight fight. Vince Morales, Draco Rodriguez, unanimous decision victory for Morales. Here's another example of a fight being won in the third round. And it's not like, I think Rodriguez may have thrown a little bit of a fit, if I recall correctly. But ultimately, Morales, this is another situation where I thought he won all 3 rounds, but certainly took the fight in the third round. threw a lot, but also mixed them up. Not only went to the head, but also went to the body as well, too. Landed almost everything there. And, again, just a good performance from Morales in a fight that, for two guys that I think both took L's the last time around, it was a good way for both of them to get back on the horse against each other. But, unfortunately for Draco, he just didn't turn it on enough, and Morales took it.
Yeah, this was a close fight throughout the whole thing. At the end of it, I thought this was a case in which Morales was clearly, marginally the superior fighter tonight. Neither guy really damaged the other, but Morales just kind of outworked him enough to get the victory in pretty much every aspect of the fight. I'd like to say I taught him everything he knows. He fights out of Syndicate MMA. But I don't think I've ever even touched him. But he's a hard worker. I see him in the gym all the time, and I'm glad that he got the win here.
Now, I'm going to butcher this name after making fun of Michael Buffer earlier on, because there's about 17 different ways that I want to
Hold
say
on.
the name.
I got it.
Go ahead.
Bobby Green.
You son of a bitch. I knew you were going to do that, but Fiziev?
That's not it.
Fiziev? Oh. Fiziev?
Rafael Fiziev.
Rafael Fiziev and Bobby Green. We talked about Aldo at 34 years old. Bobby Green is 34 years old, looks 50. You know how they say black don't crack? Well, you know what? Ron Killings, the reason that he's going to get older and will somehow get younger the entire time is because Bobby Green is taking the bullet for him. Bobby Green looks like he's 52 years old, man. And look, he has lived, to talk about a guy living a lifetime, a couple lifetimes.
Are you saying he looks like Ashy Larry out there? Is that what you're saying?
Hey, Bobby Green is out there. He just got off the warehouse. He just jumped off the UPS truck. He's a little bit ashy. He's got his Timbs on, and he might stomp you in the face. And that's Bobby Green. He has been around forever and a day. It has felt like, even though he is only 34. I don't even know how many fights he's had in the UFC, but I mean, didn't he start in Affliction? That may have been his first major fight. May have been like Elite XC or Bodog, something like that. He's been around for a long time, and this was just two dudes.
I remember him walking by Calvin Ayer at one point, and he's like, "I got these cheeseburgers, man."
It's been around so long. He fought Bobby Southworth. It's
no shit! Did he really? Come on.
No, he didn't. But
he fought J.R. Palmer.
Hey, but he's still fighting. Is that what you're gonna tell
me next?
He still fights.
Who? Bobby Green or J.R. Palmer? If you told me J.R. Palmer is still fighting, I'm staying right here.
He might be fighting. Yeah, is Shannon Rich still around anywhere? That's the canon. He may be fighting him. But to take it back to those days, that's what this fight felt like.
Yeah, you know what?
Bombing.
I think Shannon Rich fought not too long ago against Travis Fulton. Within the past few years. I know. Travis Fulton recently deceased. Thank God after what came out about him, but
oof. I may have missed that. I can't I think
really?
I possibly.
Oh yeah.
I don't even want to know that.
Oh yeah. No. The old diddler.
So he's right where he needs to be then. So that's fine. But
yeah,
look, these two dudes just kicked the hell out of each other. I'm not sure what the grand total was. I guess I can look it up here too. But a ton of punches landed, almost all of them to the head. And it was just a fun fight. This is one of those fights where, again, both of these guys are going to have careers for a long time. As long as their faces can hold up, they are always going to be in demand to be put on a card because they're always going to have fun fights. And the damnedest thing was Fiziev falling into Green's trap, because there's so many times where you see a guy running his mouth and talking and baiting a guy in a pressure situation, and the guy doesn't take the bait, fights his own fight, and wins the fight. But Fiziev, in that third round especially, was getting almost talked into throwing punches with Green that almost got himself into some big trouble and could have had him losing that fight.
Yeah, this was we've kind of downplayed the fight, to be fair, but Fiziev comes out of this fight at 10-1, right? Bobby Green is one of these guys who I think in this fight didn't necessarily lose a lot, because this was a nonstop action fight. They were standing in front of each other, and while neither guy was like getting dropped and rocked and knocked around the cage, they were slanging fists back and forth the whole time. And I think like on a lesser show, this would have been a fight of the night contender. And I think Fiziev comes out looking like somebody who is undoubtedly, obviously, 100%. No way in hell it's not going to happen. He's going to move up the rankings here. And, Bobby Green will get another fight against a tough guy who, perhaps could be a contender someday and, kind of maintain that gatekeeper status, I guess. So,
I want to see this fight again. It's like a Gotti Ward-esque type of deal, or, Ward and Emmanuel Burton or something like that. I mean, here's the thing. Nobody wants to fight Fiziev, though.
The only blows to the face I care about happen in Emmanuel.
And you were very much influenced Burton. By those Cinemax After Dark presentations of boobs and soft. But hey, the Fiziev, it's with. It's not.
All right, what are you gonna? Are you gonna throw on some Necro next? Yourself really riled up.
I was gonna say something that the verticals went horizontal there, so I'll let it go. But so Fiziev and Bobby Green, I would like to see them fight again. I would be completely fine with that. The thing with Fiziev, though, is the whole. I don't know how many times this has been said in the last 6 months with this guy. Nobody wants to fight him. That was the whole lead up going into this fight. Everywhere you looked, it was nobody wants to fight this guy after he was knocked out with a spinning head kick in his first fight. Has looked good since. I think this was his 4th in a row. But like that's been the whole tagline with this guy is nobody wants to fight him. I don't know. I think after a performance like this where he was throwing punches and, he looked good, I can't believe somebody who feels themselves more technically savvy wouldn't look at him and go, see an object there to be taken.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't look like a world beater. He didn't look like the guy who's going to, run his way to the world title. But he looked like a good action fighter who, you want to have on the roster. This is the kind of guy that you want to have on the roster. You want to have in fights, every few months. And you want to, kind of promote. He's a, what would I say? Like an upper mid-card act.
You'd put him in the upper mid-card? Has he paid enough dues for that yet?
I think action-wise, he'll prove to be, yeah. I think he'll be one of these guys like hanging around the 8, 9, 10 spot in the division for a while, win some, lose some. He's got some flaws, I guess you could say, but Bobby Green wasn't able to exploit him enough, and I think he's, he was nonstop if you watch this fight, and that's kind of action that'll win you close decisions. So
if he was in Team Filthy right now, where would he rank amongst the members?
Well, it depends if old Russ Taylor comes back in the bodysuit or not. Because if he comes back in a bodysuit at Resurgence, he might be number 1 above me, to be honest. But
you better make him run the gauntlet if he comes back. He's got to re-earn his spot. Like he's got to go through everybody. He's got to start with like Nelson and Isaacs first, and then like slowly work his way up until he gets to the big boss.
Nobody could run that gauntlet. Are you kidding me? This isn't like
no. Look,
Oda. How do you say it? Oda Tai? I'm gonna butcher this. This isn't like
Oedo Tai.
Yeah, and Mayu Iwatani. Mayu? God, I gotta go look at my notes. Mayu. I'm sorry. I was setting notes.
Funny, you know how to say Shiuri real well.
Shiuri.
Mm-hmm. See?
Yeah. I was setting notes, and I butchered it already, so way to go. But I got the good one right. Right?
Well, it's Micah, and
yeah.
Saying,
You want to talk about Manel Kopp here? Speaking about much maligned last names, I said this one wrong for about 5 years, but apparently it's Manel Kopp, right?
Is it?
I think so.
So why are you asking me? Like I
don't know,
English.
but he won. He won against Ode Osborne with an awesome leaping knee. This is the only of the early prelim fights that I saw, and this looked like the Manel Kopp of old, the old Ryzen 125 champion who defeated one of the Asakura brothers to win the belt, I believe. Then went to the UFC. He's lost 2 decisions in a row. I thought the last fight was very close, possibly could have won it. He, in his post-fight interview, said that he was 2-1 in the UFC, even though he's 1-2, and this fight he missed weight by 3 pounds, which they noted at 125 is a lot. So yeah, there we go.
And he doesn't even get any love for that on the undercard because Miles John, because he was overweight. Miles Johns was the one who got the other performance bonus here from the early fights when he knocked out Anderson Dos Santos. And I believe they put that, I think it was they played it during the prelims or during the main show. Maybe they played it during both. But Miles Johns with the victory there again. Played also into the theme of the night with bantamweights all over this show. So there you go. I didn't see any of the early show either. We'll have to wait on Dave and Brian for that later on, where Brian sits there, listens to Dave go through the undercard.
Yeah, also, in knockout news, we had, and you want to talk about butcher names, we had Sajad Ganzada.
Pardon me?
Ganzada.
Bless you.
Sajad Ganzada win the gold medal in karate over Saudi Arabia's Tarek Hamadi, who was disqualified for a high kick after KOing Ganzada. You've probably
awesome.
seen this all over social media.
Like a gentleman Chris Adams out there and shit.
Right. KOs him and then gets DQ'd because apparently knocking your opponent out in a combat sport in the Olympics is frowned upon.
What the hell is that about? Yeah, I mean, put headgears back on him then. I don't understand it. I can understand that you don't, I mean, you shouldn't be bloodthirsty in the Olympics maybe, but like accidental knockouts in a combat sport? Who knew?
What, do you watch much of the Olympics? I know what you definitely watch because we're going to talk about it here in a second, and that is Olympic wrestling, but did you watch much else?
No, unfortunately not. I saw a very little judo, very little karate, but that was pretty much it other than some random glimpses at basketball and swimming and such.
Yeah, did you see in judo there was a brother-sister combination who won the gold medal on the same day? I mean, honestly, when you talk about the all-time sports stories there, I believe there was a double, like 2 sisters that won also in wrestling this past week, but a brother-sister combination, both winning on the same day. That, I mean, that's fate. That's destiny. I don't know what else to call that. That is.
You know what that is? That's incredible. Give the parents credit because, look, I can understand if you have wealth, and a lot of people do, especially look at the equestrians and some of these sports where you need
Bruce
to have
Springsteen's daughter winning the gold medal. And when you look at her competition, it's been cited, and I'll cite John Nash as the source for this, but it's like Michael Bloomberg's daughter, who is a high-level ranking equestrian person. Who else was in there? The Princess of Monaco's daughter, or perhaps it's the Princess of Monaco herself. That's who you're competing against. So essentially, you were not good enough at the athletics that were already in place that you had to institute an athletic sport which relies heavily upon it's an outside source. It's an animal to do most of your work. That's very interesting. I had a friend also today argue with me. He goes, handball. Huh, that's an Olympic sport. Are you kidding me? It looks like you could just take some good athletes and form a team and they'd go win.
Yeah, an uncle that was in a handball league in Jersey.
Yeah. You know what? That sounds like what athletics are based upon.
But wait a
second. That
second.
sounds like, okay, so you could just take some people who are good athletes, form a team, go win? Yeah, okay. That sounds about right.
Works. But aren't you ripping these poor equestrian these people where it's like maybe they're just so rich? It's not like they're making up these sports. It's just that they're not played as much in the Look at water polo.
You want to
for heaven's sakes.
You want to start digging deeper into the ins and outs of the IOC and why certain sports are in and certain sports aren't. When we get down to equestrian, is that what you want to do? Because I certainly do not have the time to do that this evening.
Well, I think we know it goes where the money is, because again, it's like water polo. A lot of these kids, and who the hell's got a pool, in their school anymore? Unless you're in California, or maybe they're more widespread than I think. But it's
Dude, there's so many pools here. Actually, we have, if you look, there was I think there was 3 or 4 Olympians from Las Vegas in swimming, which you would normally think okay, that's not a lot of people.
Well, and it's just right? to take it back to those
there's pools everywhere. So.
The mothers and the brother and sister combination, the parents that actually have to go through the time. It's not like it's a very easy thing to do. It's hard enough to get your kid through Pop Warner sports if you have one of them. 2 of them to get to the Olympic level. I'm sure some time and money and resources had to be invested in that.
So. I don't know if you noticed, but Kyle Snyder, who today wrestled in the 97-kilogram finals against Abdul Rashid Sadulayev in the finals, his first opponent in the entire tournament was Jordan Steen, who I believe is related to Kevin Steen, who many of you know as Kevin Owens. They are both from Canada. But they talked about his mother was a water polo Olympian or something, and then his dad was some sort of Olympian, and now he's an Olympian in wrestling, and it's good Lord. What? Is this why they outlawed the condoms at the Olympic Village or whatever it was a few years ago? What's going on here? Are they trying to stop us from having these superhumans? Because clearly that's what Canada is trying to breed with that guy, right?
That's the amazing part, too. He went to the school I would have went to. If I would have remained, my father stayed alive, I would have remained in Montgomery County, Maryland. Went to good counsel, Kyle Snyder did. He's from Woodbine, so he escaped the Howard County public school system that had no wrestling really whatsoever, at least when I was there. Certainly not at the school I went to. Very, very poor. I think there was 3 people. I think it was barely enough to. it was
3
hard
people
time.
in the school.
They played a lot of. They played a lot of lacrosse
your bluff,
there.
Buddy. I'm calling bullshit.
Three people on the wrestling team. 3 people on the wrestling team. But
come on.
Yeah, Kyle Snyder, who took the L, unfortunately. Which, by the way, let's forget about that for a minute. John Smith and Jordan Burroughs as announcers. Jordan Burroughs, fantastic for NPR. I want to hear more of him do lots of different things. Very calming, soothing presence. And that was, of course, counterbalanced by John Smith on doing the color of these matches, where you remember that he is a legendary coach.
They so at first, right? I think I can't remember the first day I watched, but it wasn't the first day. But they start showing the action, and which, by the way, we haven't really even talked about the wrestling, but this is one of the best performances in history by the USA wrestling team. Edged out only by a spectacular performance also by the Russians, who I guess would have captured the unofficial team title with the win by Sadulayev over Snyder in the finals at 97 kilograms. But this was one of the top performances in USA history. We had David Taylor win a last-second battle to take home gold. Perhaps the most famous of all of the matches, which I'm sure if you follow the coverage of the Olympics, you saw, was Gable Dan Stevenson. Named after Dan Gable. Obviously, Gable Dan Stevenson winning the heavyweight division of the freestyle wrestling competition over a defending 3-time world champion in, when I say the last seconds, I mean the last 0.1, the last absolute millisecond of the match, in which he was down by 4 points, or 3 points, I'm sorry, mere seconds earlier. I believe he got the last 2 takedowns within 10 seconds. One of the all-time great matches in Olympic wrestling history. One of the all-time great comebacks in Olympic wrestling history. And this is from a 21-year-old gentleman who has expressed his desire already to join the WWE. I believe his brother is under contract to the WWE. And Jordan Burroughs, who you mentioned earlier, John Smith, who you mentioned earlier, they both talked about him being a generational talent. And this is one of these guys who, if he decides to continue wrestling, he will be a multiple-time world champion, multiple-time Olympic champion. He is 21 years old. He's the NCAA champion. He was only going to get better. This was realistically his first international competition on the senior level, and he won it. He won the Olympics in the first outing, so he's only going to get better. But he's also expressed interest, like I said, to go right to WWE, and I would think if I was the UFC, I would try to, cash in on this opportunity as well. So this is one of the guys who's going to come out of the Olympics the most hot, the most in demand, and it's like I read it, they go, he's already been linked to Paul Heyman. He's a Paul Heyman guy. And it's like, yeah, no kidding. He's a can't miss prospect. You're going to hear about Gable Dan Stevenson, whether it's in professional wrestling, whether it's in MMA, whether it's in amateur wrestling. You're going to hear about this guy for the next, 2 decades.
Obviously, I'm in more of a bubble, but it's felt like a foregone conclusion that he is going to be going to WWE when he is done. Now, they extended out eligibility extra, so now Spencer Lee, who felt like he has been at Iowa for 10 years, he's still in. I mean, Stevenson is going into a senior year now, I believe. If you are him, and I know this is tough, but like, what a crossroads to be at, because the amount of money that will be thrown at you. Obviously, there's WWE, and then obviously if UFC or somebody like that gets involved, then your numbers start to change even more. But like, do you do something like that? Or I mean, this obviously he is named after Dan Gable, and we'll get to that in a minute too. But like you mentioned, he is. We're in a way, we're scratching the surface on possibly how good this guy may be on an international scale. Like, who knows how great he could be? That's possible, though. Those possibilities of him being otherworldly are there. How much pressure is on a kid like this from the industry side of wrestling, and especially the old guard, of which there are still many in amateur wrestling? How much pressure is on this kid, and how much will he be pulled by people to be the face or one of the faces of international wrestling for, hopefully for their sake, I would assume, 8 years going forward, but at least 4 more?
Yeah, I'm not really worried about it, Mike. I don't think he's the kind of guy that gives in, folds under pressure. I think he's going to make his decision. I don't know the guy at all. Like, I don't know shit about him. But, based on what I've seen, I think he's going to make his decision based on what he wants to do.
How about for you?
What's
UWW
going to do? What's United World Wrestling going to offer this guy if his lifelong dream is to work in the WWE? He could sign a contract probably right now for more than they could give him, which is what, like $250,000 a year? He's going to grow up. Hold on. Let's forget this. I don't care how you grow up. Do you know how fucking hard it is to be the champion in Olympic wrestling? Like that.
But that's
you
what
can
I'm
talk
saying.
about. You can talk about being on the road. You can talk about doing matches all the time in WWE. You can talk about this and that. I don't give a shit. To be the Olympic champion in amateur wrestling is about 300 times as hard as. It's harder. I would venture to say it's harder than anything I've done. And that includes a sport where I'm getting punched in the face, I'm getting wrestled, all this stuff. Like, I don't think he's the type of person that's going to fold. He's going to give in. There's not going to be any external pressure that changes how he's going to react or how he's going to perform in the future. If there was, we would have seen it already. You know what I mean? This guy's 21 years old. If we want to go dig into the news, I'm pretty sure there were some rough allegations against him within the past couple of years. And, I would have thought that would have played a bigger part in his performances, and it hasn't whatsoever. You know what I mean? So I don't think, like, this is somebody who's going to let outside influences, factor what their decision is going to be for their future. He either wants to go join his brother in WWE. It's like something that they have planned out, or he's doesn't want to. You know what I mean? But either he can do it now. He's young enough. He could stick in wrestling. We only have 3 more years, and that's, when you think about it, that 1 extra year, believe me, I can attest to this. I just, fought in the PFL, 2 months ago, on a contract that I had signed in, like the previous 15 months. I signed that contract before the pandemic started. And if you would have come to me a year after that, if you would have come to me in March 2021 instead of March 2020, I don't know that I would have signed the contract to fight. So a year can make a huge, huge, huge difference. And when it comes to training, that year off, you know what I mean? Like, we only have to go to 2024 when he can get another Olympic gold medal. We don't have to wait till 2025. Perhaps that, that less time period is more appealing to him. And, honestly, if this were the case, this is a exceptional period of time. This will not, hopefully, this won't be replicated in the future where we have to take the Olympics off and then, you have 2021 and then 3 years later you can go back for another Olympic championship instead of 4 years. Perhaps this is the time to take advantage of that. So if you're asking me what I would do, I'd go for the gold again in 2024, and then I would go to WWE, because think about how big the bidding war is going to be then. And think about what you just did. You beat a guy, Gino Petrosvili, who's towards the tail end of his career. There's Taha Agul, who's also towards the tail end of his career, if you look at it age-wise, and you are the young gun in the weight class, and you just won the Olympic championship. Win another, create an even bigger bidding war. Who knows by then what's going to be going on with WWE, AEW, all the other companies, Impact, UFC. Who knows? But I'd give it a shot until then.
Motherfucker, all I wanted to know is, would it give you pause and maybe think about continuing on in international competition? That's all I was going with, and the answer is yes. I think the answer should be yes for him. WWE is going to be there. He is a phenomenal athlete, and I'm sure his whole dream has been spent wanting to go to WWE, and his brother is there, and that is a place he is going to land, but he's one of those people that when you see him in international competition, it's one thing to see him against other college students. It's one thing to see him in folk-style competition against other grown older men, but to see him at the top flight of international competition doing what he's doing and what he did in the lead up to this as well, too, because everybody's talking about the final, but he cooked his way through, to get there. So very impressive. And, the other thing it did, too, and this is not a dig against Sarah Hildebrand, but the reality of the situation is what a collapse for her. But thankfully that day, that collapse wasn't mentioned much because of the big win from Stevenson. But yeah, Hildebrand ended up coming back, won the bronze, looked fantastic today doing it, or yesterday doing it. But bad
fan.
for her.
I'm a big fan of Sarah Hildebrand. What a little cutie.
Does she have a brother too? Do they? Because I think he may actually be in at 125. I think Eastern Michigan or something like that. That may be, but
I'd be more interested to know if she had a boyfriend than a brother.
You have a wife, sir.
For Avery in the future. Anyways, yeah, she looked great. My kind of wrestler, like, she's scrappy. She was up 7-1 in the semifinals. And then got thrown, unfortunately, with a lat drop, and ended up losing. But she came back in the repechage and in the bronze medal match, much like in the first 2 matches she had. She'd kind of like outwork the opponent, get the takedown, and then she had a killer leg lace in the early rounds and also in this bronze medal match. And she reeled off like 4 leg lace turns in a row and got the tech fall. And I thought she was awesome. And, she's real, what is she, like 20, I don't know, 25? Young. She's young, whatever it is. She's early 20s. And, it's like you look at the U.S. squad and you have Helen Maroulis, who's, I wouldn't say she's old, but she's been around for a while, coming out with the bronze. Jakara Winchester. You have Adeline Gray, who's also a veteran of the sport, and then Tamara Mensah Stock, who took the hold in the gold. And what a formidable team. Like, really, USA Wrestling, I thought, if you watch the Olympic Games, came out as the USA Wrestling women's team came out as one of the stars. I thought they all came off really well, and they had great performances. And, that's not to take away from the men's team, but, I thought that they performed well. Obviously, the medal count shows that. And I thought the coverage of it was a lot better than it has been in previous years. You mentioned Jordan Burroughs and John Smith both being awesome. Jordan Burroughs, they kind of put him in the desk after the first few rounds. What I mean by that is like at the analyst position rather than the commentator. They had John Smith kind of carry the commentating on most of the matches, and he was great. He was like, he would call out the referees nonstop.
Yes.
He would not shy away from calling out the issues that professional or the amateur wrestling has as a spectator sport. As a matter of fact, that was one of the things that I thought that he did the best. He would talk about, what's going on here? Why is the ref doing this? We're trying to appeal to more people, and we have no clue what this ref's even talking about.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, as somebody who is a first-time viewer, that's great to know. This guy's not above you. He's like wondering the same thing. And I thought that they were both awesome. They were both effective. And I thought that this was a really good showing, both wrestling-wise on the mat and also like media-wise for the USA Wrestling team.
And I like how they were giving out like the Twitter addresses, and they show John Smith's name, and underneath it just says at NBC Olympics. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't have any time for this shit.
He's not doing. He's talking about low singles and talking about Kyle Snyder shooting in and stopping on his knees. But everything he said, like at first they put him on, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, he's just like, he is not a broadcaster. You know what I mean? And then I go, oh, wait a minute, that's John Smith. Oh. He knows exactly what he's talking about, and he got better as he went on. And I think it sucks because once they took Burroughs out, I thought John Smith got better. But that's not to say that Burroughs was bad whatsoever. I thought he was phenomenal as well, but it's just a completely different style. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if you watch like the ESPN college finals, who was it? Gibbons. It's I forget the play-by-play guy.
Blatnick.
It used to be Blatnick against Gibbons, and then they'll have like Anthony Robles, or they'll have whoever it's going to be, and that combination fits better because and I'm brain locked. Quint Kesnick and I'm brain locked, and I can see their faces, but like they work together as broadcasters better. Whereas John Smith is like, again, you have
Brick
a head
Tamlin.
coach.
Brick Tamlin.
Oh man. I can't remember, but like again, it's just a different dynamic. Where if you have a coach like a Smith, it would be like having Cale Sanderson there, or it'd be like having a handful of other guys, Jay Robinson. Like that's all you need. Like you don't need anybody else there because that's just the personality they have. Tom Brands, I can see being the same way, who is going to be half announcing, half yelling at the wrestler on the screen, and half, whatever it is, because he was coaching the entire time, especially during like Snyder, during his, where he was thought to be slipping up, and there's some things that he could have did where
here's the
he was
thing.
coaching him around the whole time.
Normally you'd go like, okay, like even when I hear Cormier or Dominic Cruz or these guys, you think like you're not in this situation, right? But you know what Snyder was doing? He was shooting the low single, and you know who's the guy when it comes to the low single, that low ankle pick single that Snyder was shooting? It's fucking John Smith. He is the guy when it comes to that move. So it's like Snyder was doing his move, the move he was most proficient at, over and over and failing on it. And I thought, like, how apropos that the guy who's in the booth doing the commentary, trying to provide, instruction, is the guy who is traditionally, throughout history, the best at this specific move in John Smith. But yeah, I thought like it was a great showing, like I said, for USA Wrestling on both the social media, the broadcast, and the wrestling side. Like I don't know, without coming out with like gold medals for everybody, I don't know how they could have come off better through the broadcast.
No, they did the best they could for the lack of atmosphere and all those things that make wrestling great. It's what makes the NCAAs great every year, and obviously in Japan too. Some of the reactions that their champions, their women's team, which is always strong every year, could have gotten. Unfortunately, we missed that. But the Greco-Roman team, there were only 4 of them. That will always kind of. It won't blow my mind. It will blow my mind that we can't get more guys into the Olympics as far as not being able to do well. It's okay, I can understand that, but it's always stunning that, Wheeler a couple of years ago,
And we had Adam Wheeler before that. We had Jamil Byers and Rulon Gardner.
Rulon Gardner, and that was how long ago at this point?
Matt
like we
Gaffari. We had Matt Gaffari.
Fat Armageddon.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you want to talk about some stuff. I don't want to keep this going much longer, so we've been here for fucking
I was going to say,
eternity.
Brian hasn't jumped in yet, but pissed off he's got to do a show with Dave. Although this is still about 2 hours earlier than he'll usually do it. By the way, folks, it's like 4 a.m. Eastern time. If you're still somehow listening to this on the podcast version.
Got some new
double speed.
I got some new figures in today that I'll show the old Twitch listeners and YouTube homies here. From Foreign Objects on Instagram, I got the look at this Kaz Fujita Pride Grip of Hand figure.
Oh,
look at
man.
This guy. Yeah. I know, look at this. I'm supposed to take him out of the box, but I just can't.
No, you can't.
I just can't do it, Not yet.
I know you want to play with him, but,
I got it, yeah. I want to put him next to the Giant Singh and Giant Silva figure I got over there.
Yeah, for the glory days of New Japan, remind me of those times. With
look at this. Just to go along with Kaz Fujita, the other Grip of Hand figure, Kazushi Sakuraba.
Right now is that a good licensed one? Is there some 39 on there?
The Gracie Hunter himself. Let's see. Says Takata Dojo on there. It's definitely got the Pride logo. So, and then this one, I wish I would have gotten the other one. I hope maybe it's still for sale. Look at this. The Neo Samurai Genki Sudo Tao collection mini. Look at that. We are all one. And I leave you with that.
And we shall leave you right there, because we shouldn't go on for much longer here. We want to leave you in anticipation for the next show, or something like that. I don't know. Filthy, do you have any closing things that you'd like to say to the people, including a way for them to watch you and your new crew as your talent recruitment comes together and you form Team Filthy Reloaded? Where could they see that happen, as well as some of your other works?
Well, guys, please, if you have a chance, check me out, not only here on Twitch and on YouTube with some cheers, but also on New Japan Strong every Friday night on NewJapanWorld.com. This upcoming Saturday, I'm talking about a week from tonight, August 14th, Team Filthy, myself, Jared Kratos, Standing Limelight, Jarrell Nelson, Royce Isaacs. We will be taking on a bunch of other guys at New Japan Resurgence in LA. August 16th in Long Beach, New Japan Strong tapings. We also have MLW tapings September 11th in Dallas, Texas. New Japan Strong tapings in Dallas, Texas, September 25th to September 26th. We have AIW Wrestling September 10th. We have AIW Wrestling September 27th, 28th. On the 20th of this month here in Las Vegas, we have Tom Lawlor Presents Natural Born Killers 3. On September 3rd in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, we have BLP and GCW present 3 Cups Stuffed, where Filthy Tom Lawlor will take on Alex Shelley for the BLP Midwest title. The following day, Black Label Pro presents in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, Ground Control to Filthy Tom. Sometime during that day on September 4th. And Jesus, I hope there's some more dates coming up. But hopefully I don't have to say them on air because it's quite taxing, and I don't want to give away a lack of cardio to all of my future opponents. So I will say thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Hopefully we'll be back in the future. And if not, I blame it on Mike.
Bye-bye, everybody. Salute.